In my Truth Frame World Memory project, this episode becomes more than history. It becomes a meditation on power, fragility, faith, and the human cost of political transformation, themes that resonate deeply with our mission to preserve erased voices and illuminate the emotional truth behind historical events. This is the true story of the Romanovs' final night. And the bloody history that led Russia to that basement in Yekaterinburg. A dynasty at twilight. For more than 300 years, the Romanovs ruled an empire that stretched across continents, a dynasty born in 1613 and extinguished in 1918. By the early 20th century, however, the empire was cracking under the weight of war, hunger, political repression, and a monarch unable to steer the storm. Tsar Nicholas II, personally gentle but politically indecisive, presided over military disasters, economic collapse, and a population that no longer believed in the divine right of kings. His wife, Alexandra, fiercely loyal but isolated, placed her trust in the mystic Grigory Rasputin, whose influence further eroded public confidence. By 1917, Russia was a nation on the brink, and then it broke. The Russian Revolution, a nation in free fall. The February Revolution, March 1917. Bread shortages, mass protests, and mutiny in Petrograd forced Nicholas II to abdicate, ending 3 centuries of Romanov rule. A provisional government took power, but it made a fatal mistake: it kept Russia in World War I. The October Revolution, November 1917. The Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin, seized power in a planned uprising, a coup that promised peace, land, and bread. They delivered peace with Germany, but unleashed a civil war that would kill millions. The Bolsheviks were a radical Marxist faction within the Russian Social Democratic Labour Party, led by Vladimir Lenin, who believed in a tightly organized vanguard of professional revolutionaries dedicated to overthrowing the existing order. Emerging from a split in 1903, they argued for strict discipline, centralized leadership, and decisive revolutionary action, distinguishing themselves from the more moderate Mensheviks. Their influence surged during the turmoil of 1917, when they gained majorities in key workers' councils and ultimately seized state power in the October Revolution, dismantling the centuries-old Tsarist regime and laying the foundations for what became the Soviet Union. Their ideology and methods, rooted in Leninism and later Marxist-Leninist doctrine, shaped global politics throughout the 20th century. Caught between these forces, the Romanovs became more than a family. They became a symbol, a living banner that monarchists might rally around. And that made them dangerous. Captivity, from palace to prison. After the abdication, the Romanovs were placed under house arrest at the Alexander Palace, then moved to Tobolsk in Siberia, where conditions grew harsher as the revolution radicalized. In April 1918, the Bolsheviks transferred them to Yekaterinburg, to a commandeered merchant's home renamed the Ipatiev House, the House of Special Purpose. The name itself was a warning. By July, the White Army was advancing toward the city. The Bolsheviks feared a rescue. A decision was made, quietly, brutally, and without trial. The final day, July 16, 1918. According to diaries and guard testimonies, July 16th was painfully ordinary for the Romanovs. They read aloud to each other. They tended to the ailing Alexei. They played cards. They prayed. Alexandra was in constant pain, her body failing her, but her faith was unwavering. Nicholas, stripped of power, clung to routine. Their daughters, Olga, Tatiana, Maria, and Anastasia, tried to maintain a fragile sense of normalcy. Nicholas wrote his final diary entry on July 13th. We have absolutely no news from outside. It was the last line he would ever write. The execution, the basement of the Ipatiev house. 2:15 a.m., July 17, 1918. The family was awakened and told they were being moved for their safety. They dressed quickly. Alexandra carried a pillow stuffed with jewels, their last hidden wealth, sewn into their clothing. They were led down a narrow staircase into a small basement room. A few minutes later, Yakov Yurovsky, the commandant, entered with armed men. He read a short statement. The Ural Soviet had decided to execute them. Nicholas managed only. What? Then the shooting began. The room filled with smoke, ricochets, screams. The daughters, protected by the jewels sewn into their corsets, did not die immediately. They were stabbed with bayonets and shot at close range. Within minutes, 11 people, the Tsar, Tsarina, their 5 children, and 4 loyal servants, lay dead. Aftermath, a cover-up and a century of questions. The bodies were taken to the Koptyaki forest, stripped, mutilated with acid and grenades to prevent identification, and buried in shallow graves. For years, the Soviet government lied. First claiming only Nicholas had been executed. Then denying the family's deaths entirely. Then admitting it, but insisting the bodies were destroyed. The truth emerged slowly. 1979, the first grave was found. 1991 to 1998, DNA confirmed the remains. 2007, a second grave revealed Alexei and 1 sister. 2008, the Romanovs were officially recognized as victims of political repression. A dynasty erased in a single night. A nation reshaped in blood. Memory, myth, and the weight of history. The Romanovs' final night is not just a story of execution. It is the story of a world collapsing. A monarchy unable to reform. A revolution that devoured its own ideals. A civil war that scarred generations. A family caught between history's grinding gears. Their deaths marked the end of imperial Russia, and the beginning of a century defined by revolution, ideology, and the struggle over memory. This is Truth Frame, World Memory. If you believe these stories matter, like, reflect, remember and subscribe. Your comments are most welcome. Your support fuels the next frame of truth. Thank you and keep looking for my historical videos.